UMass basketball team is on a 4-game winning streak and has won 5 of their last 6 games as they're making a push for the NCAA tournament bid. So guys, I'm here with Marc, John, Louis, and Joey Saade, our basketball experts. And I got a question for you guys. What's the deal with this 4-game skid? Marc, I'll start out with you. We're playing great right now. We have 4 in a row, 5 out of the last 6, like I just said. What's going right for the team?
Well, I think what's really going on with this team is that before we would see UMass, they would have players where not everybody would show up at all the same time, but now they have players that not one person just doing all the scoring. They have 2 players that are doing other secondary scoring as well. You look at their recent games against Dayton, SLU, and LaSalle. They all had the lead at halftime in those games. And not only was Caddy Lane showing up in those games, you also have players like Trey Davis. You have players like Jabari Hines who can chip in for 10 points or 12 points at a game sometimes. And of course, don't forget about Dante Clark's performance against LaSalle this past weekend, where he let loose for 23 points, was 7-11 shooting. I think he drained 5 3-pointers in that game. So when you have all those players that are clicking together at the same time for UMass, they can really do a lot with this offense.
Well, yeah, Dante Clark really had a hell of a performance in that game. 23 points. I mean, we haven't seen much production from him at all, not just this season, but he had problems with his academics and getting his grades up. Now you see a little production out of him, 23 points. I mean, what does that say about this team? Do we have other players that could really step up, Joe?
Well, building off what Marc said, these last, the 4-game winning streak, these last 2 games against LaSalle and Fordham, in that first game against Fordham, you had Trey Davis, 26 points. You had Jabari Hines, 12 points. Obviously, their backcourt stepping up, and the Dante Clark in the LaSalle game had dropped, like you said, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He did everything. Also, in that game against LaSalle, you had Caddy Lane. We talked about him last week.
Yep.
Where's he been? He stepped up. He got a double-double, 12 points, 10 rebounds. He's stepping up. They're showing their depth, finally. It's something that they had last year. Last year we were talking about how great this team was. Not only did you have Chaz, you had Raphael Pun, you had Samson Carter, you had Caddy, and obviously they don't have those 3 players now. But you see a Trey Davis stepping up. You see a Jabari Hines stepping up. You see, Dante Clark coming out of nowhere. Where has he been all year? He came through last game against LaSalle. Derek Kellogg finally got his team playing right. 4-game winning streak is their largest of the season. They only had two-game winning streaks previous to that. Last year they had a 9-game and a 6-game winning streak. So winning 4 in a row is obviously a huge confidence booster. They're playing right at the right time, which is what Derek Kellogg can only ask for.
Now, you talked about those winning streaks last year, but the problem was last year, all those wins came in those non-conference games at the beginning of the year, and when it came time for that big game, of course, in the NCAA tournament against Tennessee, we fell off the map. Now, this year, we start out rough. We have a tough non-conference schedule, really tough non-conference schedule, without Chaz, without a big-time scorer, and now you get into these 4 bulk games in our own conference, and they win all 4 of them, which is just, it's great to see. So I'm going to throw this to you, Marc, with that new haircut. I really got it. I like the confidence on the set with that haircut. But does this team have a chance to get one of those top seeds in the A-10 tournament? We were counting them out last week a little bit. I had a little bit of hope, but do you think that they have that chance to get into one of those top seeds in the A-10?
Just to go back with what you were saying a little bit earlier, it's not about UMass, but you were saying about Tennessee last season, where you saw last season Tennessee was a team where in the SEC they didn't start off that great, but it's not really so much about how you start off, it's about how you finish, and they were the team that were probably the hottest team going into the NCAA tournament that last season, where they almost took #1 Florida the distance. But with this UMass team, I really like where they're going, but as far as their next couple of games go, I think this is going to be the hardest part of their schedule, because you look at their next couple of games, they're going to go up on the road against St. Bonaventure, URI, number 20 ranked VCU, and GW. And you look at all those games, those are certainly not easy places to win. GW right now is actually undefeated at home, and VCU, they're still ranked 20th in the nation. They're probably the most consistent Atlantic 10 team out there. They're still 3-1 at home. But given the fact that VCU is still ranked and they have to play against Rhode Island, which is actually one of the best defensive teams in the nation, this conference is getting really wide open, especially given the fact that Dayton has fallen off a little bit, given the fact that VCU has lost 2 out of their last 3. So you can never really count the Minutemen out of these last couple of games. I think they're actually sitting 5th in the conference right now.
Yeah, as you said, Marc, they're 5th in the conference. Now, we talked about all these guys stepping up on the team. Joey, I'm gonna throw this question to you. Do you think they can make one of these top seeds, not just because they've had some guys step up, but can they continue to show that production without one key big-time scorer? Everyone's going to have to contribute. So do you think that they can keep it up going forward?
I think based on these last 4 games, why not? Like you said earlier, they're 5th in the conference. They got 3 teams tied for the 2nd best record in the conference at 7-3, and they trail VCU and Rhode Island, who are 8-2. They're only a game back. Of all the struggles we talked about beginning of the year, through their inconsistencies, mediocre play throughout the entire year. They're one game back of the top seed in the A10 tournament. So as your question, can they make one of the top seeds? Why not? Marc said they have a tough schedule. They got the next 4 games, 3 of them are on the road. You got to come out with at least 2 wins if you want to be in the conversation for one of the top seeds. I think they'll end up making the A10 tournament. It's a matter of, when are they going to be playing hot? And like it's an A10 tournament, it's a 1-game playoff. It's not a 3 or 5 or 7-game series. You don't have to be the best team to win that game. If you're the best team on that day, you will. You don't have to be the best team in a series to win 3 out of 5 games. I think if they get hot, like they've been 4-game winning streak right now, why not?
Now we're going to talk about a team who beat UMass in the A10 tournament a couple years back, and that's St. Bonaventure. They're taking them on in this next game, UMass. So how do we feel about this game against St. Bonaventure? Do we have a shot to keep this streak going, Marc?
Ooh, I mean, when you really think about St. Bonaventure in the Atlantic 10, maybe it's a team that you don't really think that's a legitimate contender in the Atlantic 10, but really, this St. Bonaventure team is a really changed team from what they've been in past couple seasons, and one player from that is Marcus Posley. He's a guy that's averaging 17 points a game, one of the highest scoring guards in the nation, and last time against UMass, he scored 16 points on 2 of 5 shooting from downtown, 3 steals, and he played all 40 minutes of those games. I think if UMass can shut him down, then they have a chance on the road against St. Bonaventure.
What do you think, Joe? Do you think we got a shot against St. Bonaventure?
Just quickly, I think they have to. They're going out for revenge. They lost their last game last month, early January, by 14 points at home. They shot 35% from the field. It's a horrible percentage at home. I think they're out for revenge. They're obviously playing their best basketball of the season. They're going to have to go out on the road and prove that they could beat St. Bonaventure since they couldn't do it at home. I say get Caddy Lane involved early, get that field goal percentage up early in the paint, spread things out. It'll open up the whole field.
Real quick, Joe, who do we put on Paisley? Who do we put on him to guard him on defense?
I think still Caddy's your best option. He's your longest guy. He's your best defensive player. You have Maxi Esho too, who can guard any position with his length. But in the paint, you got to go with Caddy.
What about you, Marc?
For Posley, I think the best player that you put on him would probably be like Dante Clark and maybe Derek Gordon. We know what Derek Gordon can do on defense. Give him a shot.
All right, guys. Well, thanks. We'll see what happens in this game against St. Bonaventure. Obviously, we have a ton of big conference A10 games coming up for UMass, kind of for the rest of the year. So we're looking forward for this success to continue. All right, guys. Thanks, and we'll be right back to talk UMass men's lacrosse.